In fact, many talented people don't go as far as they could in life because they sit back on their talent and never learn to work hard. That's what happened to Michael Jordan when he first started playing basketball. He had the talent, but he wasn't working hard, and the coach actually cut him from the high school basketball team. Well, that was a wake-up call. He says, I was very disappointed. I started working on my game the day after I was cut, and he soon became the hardest working player in basketball who made fun of the other players who weren't working hard. And that's what made him the greatest basketball player of all time, not the talent. So I'd say the real gift is not talent, it's the ability to work hard. And we tend to underestimate work and overestimate smarts. But it's like talent. In the end, work wins over smarts. In fact, many successful people aren't the smartest. They just work harder than other people. Francois Parenteau was named top independent analyst on Wall Street by Business Week. And he said to me, I'm certainly not that smart. I can't even remember my own zip code. But he also says work is a big part of my life. I think about investments pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nez Held III is CEO of Smart Wireless, which I thought is very ironic because he told me he's not that smart. He said, I graduated from high school with a C average and college with a C minus average. But now the PhDs are reporting to him. How did he do it? He said, if you're going to be successful in anything, the key thing is to work hard. I'm not smart. As proof, here's my actual 12th grade report card. And as you can see, I'm no rocket scientist. You know, I was a C student, not an A student. I don't think I'd even make it into college these days. So how did I become a millionaire and the other smarter people in my class didn't? Well, one big reason, I just worked really hard, much harder than them. Many 60 to 80-hour weeks. And now I know I'm not alone. Thomas Stanley studied hundreds of millionaires. He discovered that most millionaires, not some, but most, weren't A students, they didn't score high on tests, and teachers didn't think they'd ever go anywhere. But they did succeed because they worked hard. So if you're out there in the workforce and you're not the smartest one in the room, the really good news is, and if you're in school and you're a C student, not an A student, the really good news is you can still succeed because the word success has 2 C's and no A's. Students love that one. You can still succeed as long as you work hard. And what if you are smart? Well, I'm sorry, there's absolutely no hope for you. You may as well just pack it in right now. Because many smart people don't achieve as much success as they could because they sit back on their smarts and again, never learn to work hard. Jan Kim, president of Lucent Technology, says people who are the smartest sometimes don't realize their full potential because things get too easy, so they don't push themselves as hard. And last year I gave a talk at one of the world's top 10 business schools, and afterwards a man came up to me and said, you know, when I got my MBA here a few years ago, I was one of the smartest people in the class. I thought I had it made. So after graduation, I sat back in my comfort zone and I didn't work hard. And I went downhill. And now at this point in my life, I've gone nowhere. I haven't achieved any success at all, even though he graduated top of his class in one of the world's top 10 business schools. He said, thanks for the wake-up call. Now I know what I need to do. I actually need to work. So the bottom line is whether you're smart or not, whether you're talented or not, just keep working hard. What about work-life balance? Bill Gates working most nights until 10 p.m. and taking 2 weeks off in 7 years. Not much balance there. You know, those times when you're working hard to succeed and your personal life is going downhill and you say to yourself, I need more balance in my life. Anybody here feel that way? No, nothing like that. Well, one of my next books is about work-life balance, so right now I'll just give you a quick summary. Career success and personal balance are opposites. It's like a teeter-totter. So when one side is up, the other side has to be down. There's no other way. So if we want more personal balance in our lives, we have to realize we're going to have less career success. And if we want more career success, we just have to realize we're going to have less personal life balance. Kevin O'Leary, entrepreneur and Dragon's Den star, says, if you're an entrepreneur, you strive for success. There is no balance. There is no life. There's just business. And that goes for any career, to be great in any career. So the bad news is you can't have both success and balance at the same time. But the good news is you can have both at different times. So some people achieve the success part first, and then they move to balance later. An example of that is the two Google founders, Larry and Sergey. They worked their butts off nonstop for 10 years creating the Google search engine. Then basically on one day, they both quit work, took a year off, both got married, and both had kids. And then other people do it the other way. They achieve the balance part first and success later. So the example there is many of the women I talk to who spent the first part of their lives raising a family, and then when the kids leave home, they go out into the workforce and achieve great success on the career side. So they achieve both, just not at the same time. It's over time. So the good news is you can achieve both success and balance over time. As Oprah says, I believe you can have it all, you just can't have it all at one time. And as usual, Oprah's right. But this subject is, in my book, I'm going to give a lot of tips about how to get balance, even though you're working hard. But this subject is success, so let's forget balance for now. The third trait successful people have in common is focus. When I asked James Cameron how he managed to produce the two highest grossing films of all time, Titanic and Avatar, he said focus had a lot to do with it. He said you got to be super focused like a laser to get anything worthwhile done. He said, when I did Avatar, I was focused for 4 years. He lived in Los Angeles with his family in the same house for 4 years. He said he hardly saw them for 4 years he was doing Avatar. Now, I'm not saying you never think wide at the beginning of anything. You got to think wide. You got to take lots of stuff in so you know which direction to go. And I say if you're young, don't focus too soon. Just know in the back of your mind that success requires a single-minded focus. As Larry Page, co-founder of Google, says, you should focus on one important goal and you have to be pretty single-minded about it. Successful companies focus. When Tom Monahan, founder of Domino's Pizza, was asked the secret of his success, he said a fanatical focus on just doing one thing well. And the BlackBerry is a perfect example of a product that achieved phenomenal success by just doing one thing well. When it first came out, it just brought email to our pockets 24 hours a day everywhere. And that's what made it so successful. Bill Gates once said, if you want to be a great software company, you have to be only a software company. You can't dabble in other things. But many companies and people don't focus. They do dabble, and I was one of them. After 10 years in the workforce, I was dabbling in many different areas. And on the personal front, I was all over the map. So I was okay at a lot of stuff, but I wasn't great at any one thing. And when I looked at successful people, it's just the opposite. Successful people aren't great at everything. They're only great at one thing. They suck at everything else. Quincy Jones told me he can't even drive a car because he spent his whole life making great music. And that's what made him great. So I figured I had to focus and become an expert at something. So I cut out all the dabbling and focused only on photography. And the focus paid off. I became a successful advertising photographer. My work appeared in international magazines.